Hi there crafters, it's Louise with you today on behalf of Kitaholic Kits, and my share today is actually not a scrapbook layout. What I'm going to create is actually an art journal spread, and what I want to talk about is the reason why I love art journaling. So I discovered it from my local craft store, and I have sort of accepted art journaling not so much as art, but as a way for me to create what I would normally create in a scrapbook layout, but without a photo. So there's no pressure to actually coordinate elements. There's no pressure to have a title or an actual story to go with a photo. It's purely just using the techniques that I enjoy from scrapbooking and being able to apply those into a blank art journal spread. So I am using the mixed media kit from this month's kit collections, and it comes with the Distress Oxide sprays. Now, I have to admit, I didn't really know what I was going to do with these, and when I started this art journal, I was sort of just playing around in hopes that I would end up with something that I actually liked, and sort of something that I could open the art journal to and actually think was quite pretty or nice to look at. So I'm not sure if this is your first foray into my videos or even mixed media or art, but you sort of have to accept that when you're creating backgrounds, and especially in the art journal, you go through this sort of ugly phase, and that is where you're adding layers to the background and it all looks pretty terrible. So throughout the course of using the Distress Oxides in the background, you probably have noticed, but there was that ugly phase, and what you do is just keep adding layers and elements until you've moved on from that ugly phase. It sounds terrible to say ugly phase, but really that's what it is. So I wasn't sure about these two colours, about the pistachio and the marmalade together, but I really like how they coordinate, and by using water with them as well, you sort of get this really I don't even know how to describe it, but you get this really neat background that's sort of blended, but you can see all the different levels of the colours, and you can see some of the areas where I've sprayed. And for me, because it's just a background, it's a way to start a page. You don't have to be too particular about it. As you can see, you know, I dried it, I added some water, I added some other elements, but there was nothing that was really difficult about creating that Distress Oxide background. Now that I've let it dry, I've pulled out the stencil that also came with the mixed media kit, and I'm using just plain black acrylic paint with a sponge, and I'm just sponging on some areas of interest around this sort of art journal area. And again, nothing like I don't really have any idea what I'm doing. I'm just going with what I like. And then as I start to progress through this, I'm going to add elements from the kits this month to help enhance this. So you can sort of see how I like to create in a form similar to what I would do on a layout. You know, you've got this background, you've got building of layers, interesting elements added over the top, some of it you cover up, that sort of thing. But as I said, you don't have that pressure. You don't have to put a photo on. The hardest thing I probably find when I'm creating in my art journal is that I can't add textural elements. Not that you can't, but if you do, you end up with a very thick art journal at the end of it. So it kind of challenges you to add texture in ways that you normally wouldn't on a scrapbook layout. So for example, the flower stack, the little yellowy orange flower that's over to the left, I probably would have mounted that up on foam in a scrapbook layout, but because I don't want my art journal to be so bulky, I've actually just left it flat, and it doesn't look bad. It doesn't look like it's not supposed to be that way, but you can see it gives it another dimension, and it would look different again if we added that to a scrapbook layout and mounted it up with some foam. Now, each month in the kits, we have the fantastic exclusive die cuts, and of course there are so many. We get so spoilt with these kits. There's just so much to use. It's almost impossible to kill a kit. Give it a try, and if you can, let me see it. Share with us over on the community or on the Facebook page. Absolutely, we want to see what you guys do with your kits, because sometimes the things that I do with the kits you might not have thought of, and vice versa. I'm sure you're all doing things with kits that I haven't thought of either. So the only other extra thing that I have added is the little adventure tag down the bottom, and I did give that a bit of dimension, but nothing that's going to make things too bulky. So that's my completed art journal page. I hope you're inspired, and if you haven't already, please make sure that you subscribe, and of course check out Kitaholic Kits.